classic truck rescue. Haven't put a video up for about a month. Actually, one day over a month. Had an accident, fell off a ladder, bumped my noggin on an engine. Actually put a dent in the gas tank on the engine. We had a windstorm, it blew the top off my shop in a box, and I was putting a new tarp on it, standing on a ladder where it says do not stand, not a step. Had both feet on there, fell over backwards, hit my head on actually a trash pump, and put a dent in the gas tank. Got a severe concussion, and I had some problems with my right eye, and my ophthalmologist forbade me to be on the computer because it takes anywhere from 8 to 14 hours to edit a half-hour to 45-minute long video. So, but I have been continuing to film. We've been selling trucks, getting them off the property, building more roads. I've been given a clean bill of health. Going back to work, I'm going to start sharing film in my videos of a project that I'm hoping to have finished this summer. It's a 1959 Chevy Apache 3100 Napco 4-wheel drive that I'm doing a complete nut and bolt restoration on from the frame up. And I've already got a lot of stuff torn down on it. I'll start adding those in with our regular videos. There may be complete videos that are just on this truck. We've got a lot of ground to cover. This will be the first complete restoration that rolls out of our new building, which I'm going to work on next week full-time, and looking forward to that. And just want to ask you that if you watch our videos and you like them, please hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe to our channel, but it helps us out. And we've been continuing to do things when we can as far as bringing rock in, making roads. I've almost got the road to the shop completed. I wanted to get that done because we get a lot of rain out here in Oregon, and I've got big trucks I've got to move around in there putting up the trusses and everything, so I didn't want to get them stuck. So I'm at least putting pit rock on the road that leads to the shop. Other than that, looking forward to getting married to Jamie in September 7th this year. We're both looking forward to that, and going to have a big shindig out here on the property. Anyway, so I'll go ahead and make a playlist for the restoration of this truck. Like I said, we're doing a complete frame off, nut and bolt restoration on it. It's going all factory. Truck had some issues. They had put an incorrect engine in it. The customer wants the correct 6-cylinder engine put back in it. I do have the date correct 59 Chevy 6-cylinder that we're putting in it. We're going to go ahead and rebuild that engine. We're going to hopefully rebuild all the drivetrain, and like I said, just do a complete nut and bolt restoration on it back to factory specifications. Customer does want it painted green. We're going to handle that for him, and I'm looking forward to getting started on this and putting things back together rather than just taking them apart. But I've already filmed everything that I've taken apart. I'm going to start adding those clips in and show you the way I do it. Some people may disagree. What I did is I pulled the front clip off in one piece, I pulled the cab off in one piece, pulled the bed off in one piece, and then I take apart the sub-assemblies separately while they're off the truck, and I'll show you how I bag up the parts and label things. And also I keep a notepad. I've already gone over this truck and made a list of all the parts that it needed. I've gathered those up, but sometimes you find other things when you're actually physically taking apart, and I did find a couple of things. So looking forward to getting started on that. Looking forward to marrying Jamie this year, and everything's okie dokie with my health again. And like I said, if you like our videos, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you a penny. But it helps us out, and peace out. So this is a 1959 Chevy Apache Napco 4-wheel drive truck. It has the incorrect engine in it, incorrect radiator, and incorrect motor mounts. There were some other issues that I found with the frame where they had welded in. I don't know if you can see them, but I'll certainly be able to show them to you when I pull the clip out. Oh, there you go. they welded in these patches on the frame. Maybe it cracked there or something, but it is an original Napco truck, and we're gonna put a factory correct frame that doesn't have a bunch of Mickey Mouse stuff going on it. This is a pretty big clue right here too. When you have a hose going from the water pump to the intake and the heater hose is just laying there, that tells me that we got a bad heater core in this truck. So like I said, as you're taking it apart, make notes of things like this. Like I said, I've already made a complete list of all the parts this truck needs, but it doesn't hurt to make another list while you're taking it apart. Let's get this hooky radiator out of here. So I'm just going through and kind of adding some things to the video that I've already shot of the teardown of the 59 Apache, but since it has an incorrect radiator in it, I thought I'd show you what a normal radiator would look like. And so as you can see, the radiator core support bolts are easily accessible on one that has the factory radiator in it. That's them right there, one on each side. And then you have a series of 1/2-inch bolts that bolt the radiator itself, which looks like this, to the radiator core support. That's a better shot right there, and you can see where the core support bolts go. It'd be under those wires right there. Another real good idea is all those bolts that I showed you, you need to remove to pull the front clip. Get you some liquid wrench, WD-40, PB Blaster, whatever your choice of lubricant is, and soak all those bolts down, especially the bumper bolts. Soak them all down long before you plan on pulling them out. It'll make life a lot easier for you. With the radiator removed, you have more access. I usually use a long extension with a 6.58 to remove the radiator core support bolts, but with the radiator removed, you have more access to point your nozzle on your lubricant, and you really want to lubricate those up. While you're disassembling one of these trucks, it's good to break off the fewest amount of bolts possible, because that's going to lead to having to drill out busted off bolts and retap holes and all that later. So if you can spend a little extra time to lube stuff up and get it out without breaking it, that's best. Write down stuff you see like this, holes that maybe in your original assessment you might not have noticed. Holes like that in the inner fender. Got one over here too. But I do have that bolt's not out, but it's completely loose. Got the other core support bolt out. Also, another trick I've learned when you're taking these out, even after you've lubed them up, they may not want to move around. Sometimes you can try tightening it just a hair, and that will force some of the penetrant down into the threads. You don't want to get carried away with that, and you really don't want to just throw your 1/2-inch drive impact on there and just start hammering on stuff. Like I said, every bolt that you can get out at this point without breaking is going to save you time on the other end. No, there's nothing you can do to help me right now, honey. You'll have to, no, maybe you can go check the cab. Annabelle likes to work right where I'm working whenever I'm working on these things. No, you can't help. They don't make puppy-friendly tools. I know. Someone will do it someday, but not right now, honey. Removing the 6 bumper bolts, 2 for your outlying brackets on each side, and 4 for the brackets that go up on the front of the frame horns. I always leave the bolts in. I just take all the nuts off. That way the bumper's not flopping around while you're trying to pull the last few off. Also, I did notice this, which was a little concerning. Fresh blue RTV around the inspection cover on the front differential. And I did have a little problem getting this thing to go into 4-wheel drive, so once we get the body off and start going into the suspension and chassis and stuff, we will probably pull that off and have a look in there and see what's going on. Taking these bumper bolts out right here, and I noticed that although they're locked up and still need to be freed, they're not tight. This bumper was just kind of flopping around right there. And there's a lot of thorns on this truck. Did snap 2 of the bumper bolts on this side, but this customer's getting a new bumper anyways. We can provide him with some good bolts, not a problem. But you can see why you want to take the bumper off before you remove the front clip, because you can't go backwards with the front clip. You have to come up and forward with it, and the way the bumper wraps around the top of it here, and it's just sticking away because I've got the bolts out on this side. But otherwise you wouldn't be able to get that off without damaging that front bumper filler panel. You can see that leaves a lot more wiggle room up under the front with the bumper off there. So with the radiator, radiator core support bolts, front bumper removed, the next thing I do is pull the, you have 2 bolts holding the inner fenders on at the bottom. On this side, you can get to the bolt head from the outside right there. That's a 1/2-inch bolt. You'll pull that out. On the driver's side, they made it a little more challenging. On the driver's side, the bolt is on the inside, and on this truck, which is a 4-speed, all the linkage, clutch linkage, is in the way of getting a hold of that bolt head. So what I do is I just pull the bracket that holds the inner fender at the bottom onto the firewall down in the toe board area by removing those 2 1/2-inch bolts. So as you can see, with the bolt on the passenger side removed from the inner fender at the bottom, the inner fender's just kind of laying there. However, on the driver's side, there are studs sticking out through the firewall into that bracket. I've pulled the nuts off, but what I do, because you have to come forward, but you also have to come up when you remove the front clip, and get those away from those studs so that when you pull forward, they're not hooked onto it. Next, I do the bolts that are at the bottom of the inner fenders. Oh, won't be doing the bolt on this one. Somebody has used some wire to connect it there. So you cut the wire or remove the bolt if you have one, and remove the bolt from the other side. And on the driver's side, the fender is actually welded to the bottom of the cab. So we'll deal with that, and I'll be back. One thing I neglected to mention is that on each side, the fender is attached to the cab also with a fender support rod that attaches to the inner lip of the wheel well and to a flange on the cab. I usually disconnect them from the wheel well because it's easier to get to, and you don't really want to mess that flange up trying to get in there, and it's a lot easier to get out and clean the gunk out from around it with the front clip off. So pull those off at each side, and then all you have left is your 2 bolts at the top of the fender, right there where the cowl meets the fender, and you're ready to remove your front clip. And more creativity. Here's the other side of the frame that I was talking about. A bunch of extra stuff had been welded into it. On the driver's side, the lower fender support rod has been creatively welded. A bracket has been welded to the lip of the fender, and then an incorrect nut and bolt, so deal with that. Not pointing things like this out to cast you know, to slam the truck in any way. It's not the truck's fault. It's not the fault of the person who bought this truck. I didn't sell it to him, but he sent it to me to make it right. And this, you point out stuff like this to yourself when you're taking it apart, because it's all stuff that you've got to address when you put it back together, and then it gets you mentally prepared for how big the job's going to be, and helps you to prepare in advance, you know, for reassembly. And also, I might add, it's a really good idea to take a lot of photographs. Get yourself a cheap digital camera, or use your phone or whatever. I'm filming this. It's going to take a lot longer filming this, just because I'm trying to make a video for people in the future that want to restore one of these trucks that will hopefully make things easier for them. And also, it's a good thing for my customer. This, like I said, this is our first full restoration that we're going to be doing, frame up, nut and bolt restoration, and I would like to have it documented, so I'm going to take the extra time to film every aspect of it. Not that we haven't restored some trucks, but we've never filmed the actual complete tear down and build every aspect of it to share with our viewers since we started Classic Truck Rescue. Final step to removing your front clip. I've got everything ready to go. Like I said, I like to leave the hood hinges on. They are bolted to the firewall, but there is one bolt on each side going from the hood hinge to the inner fender. I pulled that one out. Got to pull that one out, and then just pop your hood springs loose. Best if you got someone helping you with this part, have them hold the hood all the way up, because there'll be nothing holding the hood up once you pop those springs out. And as I said earlier, you have to disconnect your harness that goes from the headlight and the horn up to the firewall there, and you disconnect it right there. Best way I found to remove the hood hinges is to put some vice grips on this end where it attaches to the inner fender and pull it towards you to get it out, because if you pull it from the other end, then the spring's tension is coming towards you, and you don't want that. Ow. And like I said, try to get a buddy to help you. Especially if you don't have any hair on your head. That's gonna leave a mark. And if you don't have a buddy to help you, use a good prop rod. Going to be hard for me to film this part, but your front clip should now be ready to lift up off of there. Best thing to do, and matter of fact, I'm going to wait till I got a buddy over here to help me, is to one guy on each side grabbing from the fenders. Keep in mind that it's going to be heavier towards the front. Lift it up and forward. With the clip off, you can see what I was talking about much better on the frame, where they scabbed in a bunch of metal there and re-welded the saddles for the leaf springs, and just welded on body mounts. And I do like this though. That's the correct original Napco leaf spring caps, so that's a good sign. The one thing that was concerning me a bit on this truck was this over here. Oh, okay, not so bad. Somebody had just put a steering stabilizer on there. That's good. Okay, and we have the correct leaf spring cap on this side too, but even over here you can see where they've really put in a bunch of extra metal on that. I don't know what's going on there. I don't see any cracks on the top of the frame. I just I don't understand why they put all that extra stuff in there, but we'll look at it more. Okay, so I'm just going to do this in stages. First I'm going to get the front clip, and like I said, I like to leave the hood on just to keep the engine covered and till I get a little further along. But next we will be pulling the bed off, and the reason I do that is because then when you go to lift the cab off, you don't have anything on the front that's going to damage the cab, and you don't have anything on the back that's going to damage it. Truck Inspector General doing her job. It's what she does, folks. She's the Truck Inspector General. She takes her job very seriously. I try to tell people this isn't a game to her. It's very important. It's how she earns her treats. Yep. Good girl, Annabella. You are a good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl. Yes, get up in there. Don't be bashful. She says, I'm not. Come on, sweet. Come on. Good girl. Be careful. Come on. You got up. You can get down. Come on, sweet. Come on. Come on, honey. Good girl. Also, a lot of people been asking about the classic truck rescue hats. Well, I finally designed a kind of my first logo. I'll do some with trucks later and everything, but I finally got a couple batches of hats made, and but I went with high quality hats. This is a large, and I washed it one time because it was a little too large, but now it fits real good. It doesn't stick way up and everything. I'm gonna go ahead and put these on the Classic Truck Rescue website. I got them in black and red, white, and blue, but like I said, I went with a quality hat, so it costs about 25 bucks per hat. It's gonna cost $4 to ship them, so I don't know how many people are really gonna want them, but I have them if you are somebody that's been asking about them, and I'll put them on my website. Trying to make them as inexpensive as possible, but I don't want to make cheap hats. These don't have the plastic. Oh, and they say, mine says crew chief on the back, but the regular ones say crew member on the back, and I like them, but they'll be on there. So if you've been asking about the hats, I'll put a link to, well, actually just go to classictruckrescue.com and I'll put some pictures of them on there, and we'll figure it out. I've got black ones, and then I've got ones with a red and white with more blue in the lettering, and I've got ones that are blue and white with more red in the lettering. I think they're pretty cool.